Hello, it's your friendly neighbourhood small boy child, whose age ranges between about 8 and 12, depending on what comment you're reading. Grenades. I'm gonna beat the game with them because I've always thought they were a bit shy, and I've always been a bit shy at throwing them, so it seemed like the perfect combination for me to get a mean ass pounding. The bad kind, that is. But first, we need some rules. The first rule is, I can't use anything at all to deal damage apart from grenades. So that means no guns and no melee. The second rule is, I can't use a shield, not even a Rough Rider, because that will make my life easier, and I'm here for the sole purpose of suffering. The third rule is, I can't use my action skill at all for any reason. And lastly, this challenge must be completed in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. No pussy normal or true Vault Hunter mode. I want to be one hit by everything. I want to have no money because I'm constantly dead. And I want to need therapy once this challenge is finished. So, when starting off, I need to pick a character, and obviously Axton is the best choice because you can carry extra grenades, some of his skills give you extra grenade damage, and you can heal from damaging enemies, so his survivability would be a huge help since I'm not using shields. And on top of all of that, he's got the class mods which give him a lot of extra grenade damage, so it would be completely stupid of me to pick anyone else but Axton. So I picked Krieg, and my first course of action was to go and kill Knuckle Dragger to test out my grenades and to get a feel for how difficult this was going to be. I'm also a cheating bastard using a shield right here because when I first started out I had no plan to not use them, but I do throw it away soon, which is a decision I come to deeply regret. I killed Knuckle Dragger, which caused me to become delusional and think this challenge was gonna be easy. Every time I think a challenge is gonna be easy, it ends up being some of the most torturous shit of my life, and honestly, after this challenge, next time something seems easy, I'm gonna be fucking terrified. I went with Claptrap to find Hammerlock and one hit everything in my vicinity, furthering my delusion and making me consider some crazy shit like banning the use of legendary grenades, which after completing this challenge now, I think that would have probably made this impossible. I took my first death, but was completely unfazed by this, even though I'm fucking dead 2 minutes into the game. That should have been a red flag. After meeting Hammerlock and making one of the worst decisions of my life to throw away and ban shields, despite being max level and having no need for XP, I accepted his side quest because you can't start Borderlands 2 and not kill a disabled man riding an innocent animal. That would be ridiculous. This is where my nightmare began. Unfortunately, I'm ass at aiming grenades, and this paired with the fact that I'm pretty much a one-hit kill without a shield quickly made this challenge go to shit. After first laying my eyes on Midgemong, I survived for approximately 4 seconds before I was killed. After that, the fight was going somewhat well until I choked with the boss under half health, as is standard with these challenges. After an embarrassing amount of deaths while fighting a mini-boss and a side quest I shouldn't even be doing, I killed Midgemong. Despite the fact I was in Fight for Your Life more than I was actually alive during that fight, killing Midgemong for some reason gave me a lot of confidence. It was time to do the actual story, and my chronic dying condition did not improve even slightly while making my way to Boom Boom. When I started this boss fight, I of course immediately died. I then killed Boom, threw my last grenade into the abyss, died again, then killed Boom, further boosting my confidence, which is very soon going to be absolutely destroyed. I died an undisclosed amount of time while making my way to Flint, but let's just say this is by far the most I have ever died at the start of this game. I reached Flint, and it genuinely took me multiple game sessions, which were over 2 hours each at least, to beat this bastard. I feared for my ability to ever walk again. again after the beating my poor asshole was taking during this fight. And I was sure to keep up the tradition of not changing anything about my strategy and just continuing to do the same thing over and over again, even though it was clearly not working and arguably was making everything worse because the constant dying was making me so tilted. I didn't even try out a different grenade or anything, I just kept using the fastball over and over again, hoping it would magically start doing some actual damage. Even though the grenade was a bit shit against Flint, the real issue was my lack of shield, because as soon as I popped my little head out to throw the grenade, I was dead. Filled with regret over my decision to throw away my shield, after hours of mindlessly throwing and missing grenades because I was shit, I finally got Flint down to almost half health before I died peacefully by being shot to death while stuck in a corner shouting, "No, please, no!" Then, 4 hours and 48 minutes after that, while still doing the exact same thing I've been doing the entire time, I somehow beat Flint. After what I had been through with Flint, fighting all these guys on my journey to Sanctuary felt like the easiest thing I've ever done. Once in Sanctuary, Scooter basked in my glory as I had beaten Flint with only grenades in about 6 hours and only almost cried once during the ordeal. While checking on my collection of starting pistols, I found a threatening echo log telling me to go to Frostburn Canyon. Despite dying every 2 seconds, I did get through the enemies in Frostburn Canyon and reached the Firehawk pretty easily. It was here the most shocking plot twist of the century took place, as it was revealed the Firehawk is actually a woman. I was an enabler in her drug addiction to iridium. Then I whipped the asses of some ripped meth heads while she just kinda popped in every once in a while, pretending she was doing something while almost murdering me with her explosions. She shot up some more. Then I called bullshit on her powers being as strong as she says when she was only able to move me about a few feet, when she intended to send me all the way to Bloodshot Stronghold. I was rejected from the Bloodshot Stronghold because I didn't have a cool enough car, so I went to meet this murderous pair of titties who could help me get a new one. For once in one of these challenges, the destroy cars part didn't negatively affect my will to live, and I got through it in a few minutes thanks to the fight for your life dynamite and the corrosive fastball. I had the easiest Badmore fight of my life. Then I clapped more cheeks than a porn star does their entire career while making my way to Roland. When I finally reached Roland, he was kidnapped once again and cried out for my help as I just fucked about unable to care. Despite receiving some minor ass whoopings, I continued to be some hot shit all the way up to Warden. This was the beginning of my struggles with the grenade capacity. It's ridiculous, with the game only letting you carry 10 grenades at a time. It's almost as if they didn't want you to beat the game with only grenades and you were supposed to use guns as well or something like that. Anyway, I was well and truly fucked over and over, to the point where Warden got bored of me and just left. Obviously, with skills like mine, this wasn't the first time being so shit that the boss didn't even want to bother with me. So I was not discouraged. I headed to the Friendship Gulag and things in there could have gone better, to be honest. It did not go well for me at all in there. You'd think it'd be a good time in somewhere called the Friendship Gulag, but there was no friendship in there. It was just non-stop brutal violence. At one point, I think I broke the record for most grenade throws missed on what is essentially a standing still target. I am humiliated that this happened. Like, how the fuck did I manage that? No wonder I was dead every 2 minutes. I realised the fastball on its own wasn't enough to kill Warden and all of the loaders in this place, and for once in my life, I used my brain and actually changed my strategy. Really, I should have done this all the way at the start of this challenge and I probably wouldn't have been stuck on Flint for 6 hours. But I got myself a magic missile, and this made dealing with badass enemies so much easier now that I didn't need to spend over half of my very limited supply of grenades on one enemy. Even though Warden couldn't be slagged by the magic missile, I did manage to kill him in around 5 minutes, since it made dealing with all the enemies around him so much easier. With Roland finally rescued, I accidentally abandoned him to fight all the loaders on his own, which, looking back, was pretty fucked up. With his death coming up soon, I really should have treated him better. Back at Sanctuary, I watched the beautiful reunion between these two lovebirds. I actually got choked up seeing how happy Lilith was to see Roland. It was the most adorable thing I've ever seen. I arranged a train hijack with a child and had her make me some dangerous explosives. Then, after blowing up the train, no one had any faith that I could kill Wilhelm, which really hurt my feelings. After everything I've done, they think I'm that shit at the game. Fueled with a desire to prove to those assholes that I'm somewhat competent, I clapped Wilhelm's robotic cheeks in about 30 seconds, then collected the power core, which was actually a trap, and took it back to Sanctuary, where it lowered the defences and caused the death of numerous people and made Lilith need to fly the city away to safety. While trying to make my way back to Sanctuary, I ran into my first constructor, which I dealt no damage to at all, so at this point I was fucking terrified. Because even though I could walk past this one, later in the game I knew I was going to have to kill these things. I lived the dream of tentacle porn enthusiasts as I was relentlessly fucked by this thresher for half an hour. Once that nightmare was over, I set up the beacon and prepared my body for the vicious assault that I was about to endure. The first couple of waves of the loaders went well, but very quickly went to shit as soon as the constructor spawned in. I realised that the only way I could damage the constructor was to kill the loaders it spawns in right next to it, so that the explosion from them dying would damage the constructor, and at a certain point it just stopped spawning in anything, so I quit and loaded back in so that I could get a new constructor that would spawn loaders again. But when I loaded in, it just completed the mission for me. The game must have realised that I'm legally stupid and just decided to end my suffering. I was welcomed back to Sanctuary with open arms, despite my little oopsie earlier where I almost got the city destroyed. I spent a good half hour being cream pied by these loaders for some unknown reason, because looking back, I could have just ran right past them. I did eventually come to my senses and ran past all the stalkers while making my way to Bloodwing. When I reached Bloodwing, I was pooping my pants a little bit because I had been quite shy at gaming grenades, and I was going to have to hit this flying target with them, and because I had no shield, I knew I'd only be able to take maybe 1 or 2 hits. Luckily for me, the fastball had Bloodwing fucked up. I still died a few times because I was a little weenie that would die in 1 hit, but I was able to take Bloodwing out pretty quickly. I pulled an Ed Kemper on Bloodwing's throat hole after her head got blown up by Jack. Then I headed to 1000 Cuts, and thanks to the magic missile, I one-hit pretty much everyone in my vicinity, which was a nice break before the absolute ass-pounding the rest of the game was gonna give me. There was a couple of times where Brick left me for dead, which I thought was a bit of a dick move, but with the fate of Pandora at stake, I let it slide. I humiliated myself in front of Jack's body double, but that's okay because I killed him shortly after. I took things to a whole new level of creepy serial killer and changed my voice to Jack. Then I had a talk with Claptrap where he put on my tinfoil hat and helped me see the truth that he was Jack's true target all along. We headed to 1000 Cuts, and after what the game did to me here, I considered calling the police. I struggled with this constructor for around an hour until the Borderlands gods stepped in and just killed it for me. 19 hours into this challenge, the game decided it was time to take a massive shit on my forehead. I tried all the grenades I had on these Hyperion turrets and none of them dealt any damage, which meant I had to make the heartbreaking decision to use my action skill and throw my explosive axes at the turrets. The game was blippy, and I was that guy he literally took an explosive diarrhea shit on in 2013, as I was faced with a super badass constructor. This time around, the Borderlands gods showed me no mercy. However, over my 21 years of being a pussy, I can cheese my way through anything. And that's exactly what I did here. I sat in this spot behind the constructor where it couldn't hit me and just hit it with corrosive fastballs, then recharged grenades with the magic missile, and repeated this cycle for over 2 hours until I had the constructor dead. It was time for me to face the bunker, which I thought was going to be one of the most difficult things in the game. But it actually wasn't too bad. The biggest issue in this fight was me running out of grenades and being too scared to stand around and regenerate new ones with the magic missile because of all the loaders. But I just sold most of my grenades and some random floor loot dropped by the loaders at this fight, and the issue was quickly resolved since I could just keep buying grenades. I think it's possible there was some buggy bullshit going on because there was times where the bunker was lighting me the fuck up and I was just not taking any damage at all, but that did seem to fix itself after a few minutes. I of course kept up the tradition of choking after getting the boss under half health, twice actually, but I was able to kill the bunker on my third attempt by just hiding in this area and throwing grenades at it whenever it would hover above me. We found out Jack was keeping his daughter captive underground and pumping her full of drugs, making her charge the vault key. So me, Roland, and Lilith collectively murdered her in cold blood by cutting off her drug supply. That's what happens if you do drugs, kids. You snort 1 marijuanas one time and that's you hooked. And if you don't do it again, you die. Jack was not happy about us just busting in and killing Angel, so he killed Roland in retaliation and kidnapped Lilith to make her charge the vault key instead, which pretty much made us killing Angel pointless. I was denied entry into Aired Nexus and decided the only logical next step was to drive myself off the road and kill myself. That was unnecessary, as I just had to die again, die a few hundred more times, and I'm not even exaggerating, these buzzards had me genuinely on the edge of tears. But anyway, I died some more trying to run past these enemies. Then I finally got into Aired Nexus. I overloaded all the pump stations. Then I went into full pussy mode and ran past Saturn, all 3 constructors and the loaders, because I just didn't have it in me to sit around and slowly regen grenades for hours with the magic missile again. I'd rather lay on the road with my legs spread and have my coochie ran over by a car. I met up with Claptrap and it was time for us to bust through these doors and end this. Unfortunately, Claptrap might have slightly overestimated his door opening abilities, so I had to fight off waves of loaders, which wasn't too bad until all that was left was these 2 surveyors. I am genuinely disgusted with myself. All these years of playing games and I couldn't even hit these things. I'm gonna go download Aim Labs right now. Watching this has been a major wake up call. What the fuck is wrong with me? Eventually, I stopped being an embarrassment to myself and my family and killed the surveyors, and it was time for me and Claptrap to go kill Jack. Unfortunately for Claptrap, Jack was 2 steps ahead of us and had stairs personally installed to keep him away, so I had to continue this journey alone. I had an easy time killing the loaders while making my way to Jack, but I did go full pussy mode at the end to get past the constructor. Once I finally reached Jack, I got the shock in my life. I have never in my life struggled to kill Jack. He's always been a really easy fight. Even the starting pistol melted him in a few seconds. but holy fuck. He gave me a worse ass whooping than my boyfriend does when we have sex. Even though he didn't take much damage from grenades, I never really ran out of them because his clones dropped them all the time. I spent more time in Fight for Your Life than actually alive, and at some point I think even the game got tired of watching me die over and over. So Jack just kinda took off away from the loaders, and when I caught up to him, he was stuck in this position. And since this all happened naturally, I decided it was fair for me to kill him like this. With the amount this kind of thing has happened to me, I look like such a little cheating bastard. But I swear, I did not will any of this to happen. I don't know if it was just coincidence that every time I took forever to do something it magically became easier. I don't know if the game is supposed to do that, like if you spend too long stuck somewhere, it just gives it to you. I don't know if it was the gods, or maybe I'm like magic and my frustrations just make things happen for me, who knows. Despite me taking down Jack, little stupid ass Lilith charged the vault key, so the warrior was awoken, and after that fight with Jack, I knew it was time to get all my holes ready for the fight of their life. I spent the next 2 hours dead, mostly due to a mix of not having a shield and me lacking any kind of basic intelligence. I could take one hit, which would leave me on the brink of death, and for some reason the hitboxes for the attacks were pretty much the entire arena apart from the very back where you first drop in, so I was just being hit by every attack. After those 2 hours, I had somewhat come to my senses and went back into pussy mode and sat at the back just throwing grenades from the safety of my little corner. However, like a little kid, which a lot of you seem to think I am, I had no patience to just sit back and let the magic missile regenerate my grenades, so I died a lot running out to try and get grenades from ammo boxes. I didn't even learn my lesson from this either. Even when the warrior had a quarter health left, I was still running out risking my life for no reason. By some miracle, my dumbassery didn't get me killed, and after around 3 hours, I had finally killed the warrior. I threw a grenade at Handsome Jack's face, killing him dead, and finishing this challenge. So, can you beat Borderlands 2 with only grenades? Kinda. I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling bastard turrets on the way to bunker. I remember this challenge being so difficult. Like, I swear there was times where I'd go a few days without working on it because it was so hard and I couldn't even bear the thought of getting my cheeks clapped some more. But watching all the recordings of me doing it, it really doesn't look that bad. I mean, it's bad, but it's not constantly struggling to hold back tears from rage like how I felt when I was doing the pre-sequel with the starting pistol. If you enjoyed this video, you should leave a like, because if you don't, it'll hurt my little feelers. And you should also subscribe, because I'm getting somewhat close to 1,000 subscribers, and it would be nuts if I could actually hit that. I'm still in disbelief that I even managed to get 100. Also, to everyone who's stuck around, even though I've been extremely inconsistent, I appreciate it so much. You're the best, and life has been a little bit rubbish for me the past few months, and reading all of the super nice comments and stuff from you has helped motivate me so much. I really appreciate it. You're the best. If you didn't like the video, just leave me your number and I'll let my mum know that you're mean to me online, and she'll phone you up and you guys can arrange an in real life fight. Bye!